Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. Please excuse my scratchy little throat. I am streaming live to you from Hawaii, Waikiki Beach in Honolulu, and the time difference is like tearing me up. Uh, I live in California, for those who don't know, and Hawaii is 3 hours behind California time. So it's just been a little bit of a difficult adjustment. So if I sound a little bit boyish, apologies, apologies. It's also very early here. It's only 7:30 a.m. right now. Anyway, I welcome you to the channel. I appreciate everybody for being here. We are a day late, but we will still get it done. We're going to go over Forbidden Love. The episode was the Hot Mess Express per usual. And again, if you have any issues with hearing me or if there's a lag with the streaming, I am streaming to you live from Hawaii off of the cheap ass hotel Wi-Fi. So please bear with me, but it's done well this far. It has done well. So we're going to start the episode discussing Lindsay and Elmer. They go to see Elmer's family, who's Amish, and he has been shunned because of that. They believe that once you leave the Amish lifestyle, that they cannot have anything to do with you. They say it's a religion, but religion is supposed to be about spirituality and who you praise. I'm not sure how shunning somebody that you've created, your child, your loved one, is going to support spirituality or bringing you closer to God. I'm not understanding that. But they go to see his family, and we learn that the cameras cannot be there because the Amish believe that photography or any form of filming yourself, whether video, photography, they believe that it's an example of vanity. And essentially, they don't feel it's okay. It goes against their religion. So the cameras respected that, which I was really glad about. And we learned that he was able to see his siblings. His parents were not home at the time. His siblings did allow them to come into the garage area because it was cold as hell outside. It looked like they was in the snow. So I thought, that was nice. That shows some type of care, because if they were just random people, they probably would have just left their ass outside. So I thought that showed some type of hope, some type of care. Now, Elmer says he wishes things were different, and you could tell he's just extremely sad and that this has disrupted his peace. And he understands that why his family is doing what they do. He says it's because they are essentially brainwashed from their religion and think that is the only way of life. And he knows that they do not hate him. They're just following, the rules of their religion. That really bothers me a lot. A religion should not have the ability to brainwash you. And I know a lot of people take their religion seriously, and I respect that. But there are people practicing religion in a way that is healthy without expecting, people to change their whole lives, or without judging others who choose not to do religion. I believe every religion states the only one that should judge is God. Yet here these religious people are constantly judging. So I just don't like that, and that'll be a common theme throughout the episode. Now, they come back from the visit and all of these things, and we see that Lindsay is now complaining that since Elmer and them have been back from seeing his family on the Amish land, he has regressed with his manners and hygiene. And she says that she is concerned that she's going to have to mother him and the baby that she's pregnant with, who's not here yet. Here's the thing. Girlfriend, you chose him. You chose him, sis. You chose him. And I do feel like Lindsay is a little bit predatory, and I'm not saying that like, oh, she's a pervert, or comparing her to, people who touch on kids or maybe a part of Megan's List. I can only say so much on YouTube. However, when you're 34 years old, going for a 23-year-old man that has no experience with the outside world, outside of him working on roofs and doing little jobs, that you have more knowledge and the ability to take advantage of him in some way, whether it be through manipulation or whatever the hell. Now, personally, the moment I saw the age gap with these two, I was like, that's a little much. That's a little strange, because I'm 32. I had a friend, actually, when we were 31, she dated someone who was 24. And that stuff did not work. And I was looking at her crazy, because how? There's just such a difference in maturity and just mindset. It doesn't mean that people are bad at 24. Hell, we were all 24 once, right? But there's just a difference in mindset. So, Lindsay, you're 34 years old dating a 23-year-old who has no experience with the outside world. you know what you were doing. And in some ways, I feel like she may have used him to have a baby because of her biological clock, which will come up later. Now, they get to talking because she's frustrated. And she reminds Elmer, she's like, I get annoyed that I have to remind you to wash your hands and brush your teeth. Okay, I can understand that that annoys you, but no one's telling you to do that. You could also do him a better solid and use your money in an effective way. Hire him a therapist, hire you a couples therapist, which your insurance should cover. And I assume you have it if you're pregnant. And you guys can find a way to discuss this issue in a safe, productive way where a therapist can give him tools and homework to assess and work on these things. I work in mental health. And a lot of times when I'm working with people and creating care plans to help the people I work with, hygiene and cleanliness is a big thing. And it's like, if you don't have the patience or the training to do that, which most people don't, and I get it to her side, you're not accustomed to having to teach a man these things, then utilize your resources and go get him the help that he needs. I don't understand it. And couples therapy is definitely necessary for a couple that got together. He had to leave his family, give up his whole life for her. Now he's living with her, trying to pay bills on their own. They got a baby coming. I think in general, they should have a therapist or talk to a therapist. Like, it's not a bad thing. But he doesn't like that Lindsay makes it seem as though he does nothing around the house and cannot take care of himself at all. And it's interesting that Lindsay responds saying that she needs a man to raise a baby with. But you chose him knowing that he wasn't really ready to be a man. A 23-year-old is not a man. I've been with my husband since I was 16 and he was 18. So I've literally basically grown up with him. I can say without a shadow of a doubt, at 23, he worked the job and did all of these things, but I don't think he came into his own as like a man until he got a little bit older. And the same for me in terms of coming into my own as a woman. It takes time. Just because you have the legal age to drink and smoke and go to the club does not make you a mature man or woman. That's not what makes you that. So I just feel like you should have known better, Lindsay. I don't have empathy or sympathy for you, regardless of you being pregnant. You chose to get pregnant and not use birth control. And Elmer confirms this. He says that Lindsay pushed the marriage and pregnancy because she was telling him that her biological clock is ticking, which it is. She's 34. That's a geriatric pregnancy within a year. So I think she used him just to have the baby instead of waiting to see if the relationship would work. Do I think she cares for him? Yeah, I do. But let's keep it real. You knew what you were doing, and no shade to Lindsay compared to like a man who's experienced lots of women who hasn't been forced to grow up Amish. Girl, you basic at best, even with makeup on. You need to relax. I feel like she did what she could to snatch this man up and, is a mess. You're 10 years older than bro. Look what you're doing. And now you're literally coming down on him, kind of like berating him and downing like his existence in the way that he is. Girlfriend, remember, you met Elmer when he was working on your roof to fix. So obviously he has some type of income and some type of job and the ability to take care of himself, in my opinion. So she says she does not trust Elmer to be a good dad. And she says this to him, which is extremely disrespectful. This is his first child. Who says you're going to be a good mom? Who says that? There's a double standard sometimes. So I don't like the way she moved at all this episode, but he makes a comment that he gave up everything to be with her. And my husband made the comment like, whoa, he was tripping. And that's probably the difference between a 23-year-old and a 34-year-old. But my husband did have a point. You should not give up everything to be with anyone, because if someone loves you, they're not going to allow you or be okay with you giving up everything that matters to you just to be with them. Now, in terms of the relationship and religion with his family and them shunning him, I get that, but you can't allow him to do that and then come down on him for still behaving and doing things the Amish way when that's all that he's known. It's all that he's known. That's why I say they need to get a therapist individually. They need to get a therapist as a couple. And that's the way to work past these things. She just attacks him and puts him down, which to me is mean, and it's counterproductive. You're not going to solve anything. That's just my opinion. If you guys feel differently, feel free to comment your opinions. I would love to hear them. Also, like the video if you haven't, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and to our replay gang who watches when we're no longer live, thank you. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. So we're going to move on to the next couple, you guys, which is Ashley and Muhammad. We see these people, I don't think they're going to last at all. I don't like him. I don't like her. I think that her family is racist and she is toxic. And I think that he is judgmental and also equally toxic. I don't like either of these people individually or together. Now, Ashley and Muhammad have worked through some issues. Let's keep it real. They're talking about the issues with family. We saw her meet with the brother and we saw Muhammad try to talk to her family. I feel like she got further with his brother than he did with her family. Her family and them, it was just like, whatever, we're going to believe what we believe and we have to deal with each other because we both care for Ashley. But with Muhammad's brother and Ashley meeting up, he was like, okay, yeah, maybe I shouldn't have said this, but this is why I feel this way and this is how our beliefs are. It like, while I feel like his brother needs to mind his own damn business, because I like my sister's in a relationship, my brothers have had relationships. Why are you getting into your siblings' relationships like that? Like, learn how to let people be, let them come to you and vent, and then leave it there. Like, I don't understand why the family's so involved. Now, we see them teaching their daughter to pray because in Islam, you are supposed to pray 5 times a day, which is common. And he is still upset while the daughter's learning to pray because Ashley's just wearing a normal short sleeve shirt. It's not V-cut or anything. It's covering up. And she's got on a skirt, like a long skirt that comes to the ankle. And this fool is talking about, I need for you to change clothes. You need to put pants on under your dress. Ain't no way in hell in the middle of summer somebody gonna put pants on to cover a dress. I can't get over the fact that there's a double standard with him. And this is with him, not Islam. Because for those who don't know, I grew up in Islam. I grew up Muslim. I don't understand how he can have multiple wives. He said his father had 4 wives, but you expect her to dress how you want her to dress, and she's not even Muslim yet. Let me explain something to you. When you met this girl, Muhammad, she was not Muslim, and you liked her and you got into it with her, and you broke some of the laws of Islam. For those who don't know, if you read the Quran, it's the same thing. Sex before marriage is big no-no in a lot of religions. So it's interesting that all of these people, not just Muhammad and them, are so strict on their religion, but they're all breaking the rules of their religion to some extent, but then expecting their partners to have to follow every single little rule, which annoys the hell out of me. Big double standard. How you want a woman to dress a certain way because you don't want other men to look at her and you say her body is just for you. Meanwhile, you talking about you can have multiple wives if you want. Makes no sense. Also, why is he never in the appropriate Muslim wear, which men do have appropriate wear as well in public? So Muhammad's full of it, full of it. They go to the park and they talk, and he wants his daughter to grow up being a Muslim. And essentially, now he's saying that the daughter will follow what Ashley does because that's her mother, which is true. And he says that this is why it's important that Ashley needs to change to a Muslim. He then says he is afraid that his daughter will end up like Ashley's family, which is rude as hell. It's super rude. And so as soon as he says that, she immediately brings up his brother. They're both rude. I notice a pattern with them. He'll say some stuff that's like off the wall and incredibly rude. And then Ashley's response is, well, your brother, with a petty response, versus just saying, I don't want you to insult my family that way. She has to say, I don't want you to insult my family that way because your brother be on some BS as well. They're both extremely immature and super picky, choosy with, how they are with religion. Now, she says that Muhammad is being dumb, which I thought was like not cool. Just because your dude has a different opinion from you does not make him dumb, does not mean that he lacks intelligence. It just means that he feels differently from you. You don't got to call him stupid or dumb. That's rude. And he says that Ashley calling him that is why she needs to become Muslim. He says that she needs to respect and obey him, but he won't give her respect. Let me explain something to y'all. Islam or not, respect is something that is earned, not given. You got to give it to get it. All those good little terms. It's something that I feel like should be mutual in a relationship. I don't like that he's taking a part of the Quran where it says we expect for you to the wife to respect and obey her husband. But at the same time, there's also things that the husband is supposed to do for the wife. And Muhammad is not doing that. He's not doing that. He is picking and choosing parts of Islam that work for him as a man while also disrespecting his wife, her family, and he's disrespecting his daughter by behaving this way. Now, we then find out that Muhammad essentially says, if Ashley does not convert, they're not going to stay together. And Ashley seems pretty aware of this. She seems to know, like, my marriage could end if I don't convert. Let me explain something that we go discuss when we discuss Lori and Eli. I don't want nobody converting for a religion unless they're converting because they want to. If I decide, for instance, when I left Islam, my mom had us convert to Christianity. And while some of it is okay, I don't align with Islam or Christianity anymore because I was forced to convert versus being able to choose what my religious and spiritual beliefs are myself. So now I'm in my 30s figuring it out when I sometimes feel like my parents robbed me of the option to choose on my own, So if she don't want to convert, don't convert. If that means they don't need to be together, then don't be together. Let's keep it real. He's judgmental. They have no respect for women on his family, and that has nothing to do with Islam. Again, I grew up Muslim. My father was very respectful to my mother. I grew up in masjids and saw lots of, people who practice the religion, like being respectful to their wives who are men. So the things that he is saying, yes, some of them are true, but he is not delivering them in the appropriate way. Shame on you in the name of Allah. How about that? And as for her family, there's some racist ass white folks. She can't even bring up her family without saying, I grew up in an all white conservative town. Just say you grew up in a conservative town, boo. Why it's got to be that they're all white and conservative? Oh my gosh, my husband's eating pokey that was sitting and I'm a little worried. Side note. But anywho, like the video again if you haven't already. We're going to get into our next couple. And again, I respect all religions. I think at the end of the day, they're all just trying to achieve being good people, not spreading negativity into the world for the most part. And religion and faith is something that really does bring peace to people. It keeps people sometimes from being depressed, helps uplift and keep people going. That is something I learned in college, actually, as a psych major. Religion is so important to people, and we have to acknowledge those beliefs before we can even counsel or work with clients. It's important. It matters. Now, the next couple we're going to discuss is Lori and Eli. I really want them to work, but I do not like how he gets childish sometimes, and his mom irritates my soul just a little bit. Now we see Lori and Eli preparing for Shabbat, which is a time where they take a day and they rest. I believe they say this, the seventh day, the Sabbath, whatever you want to call it. This is in several religions. The seventh day you rest. Now he is an Orthodox Jew. She grew up Catholic and super Italian. I do like about Shabbat how they disconnect from technology and the things that traditionally make life easier or bring comfort. I think that as humans, especially in the 21st century and in today's time, people are so reliant upon technology for everything. If they don't have a phone, they can't enjoy themselves. If they can't take a picture of their food while they're out to eat, they're not having fun. Like, I do this with my husband sometimes too, when we're out in public. Like, let's just have fun and talk to each other while we eat instead of staring at our phones the whole time. Like, you can't be so connected with technology and comfort. So I do like that part of the Orthodox Jewish religion. Lori is weirded out by the process, and here's the part that I felt like was too extra. In Jewish people, a lot of what I see, I've started to see like, oh, I actually could get with that. I can understand that. But then they seem to like to take things like an extra step and do too much. Why do you have to rip the ass wipers, aka the toilet paper? Why do y'all have to rip the set amount of toilet paper you use? He explained it, but I was like, okay, that's extra. If you got to wipe your ass, you got to wipe your ass. That's a lot. Now, her family is going to be joining her for Shabbat, and she's nervous about this due to their reservations about her converting. Here's the thing, though. Even though her family has reservations about her converting, they're still willing to come and participate with her in Shabbat, even though they are Catholic and don't believe in that. It's real interesting. But when it comes to Eli's family, he can't go to her house for Christmas so that she can be with her family, or allow her to go to her family's house on Christmas Day. Interesting. You can go to her house on Christmas Day and allow her to have time with her family and it not be about religion. It's just, once again, this double standard with relationships. Now, her family comes over for their housewarming because they've moved in together, which is not smart considering they don't know if this is going to work. And they do a housewarming. And we also meet some of Eli's family, his cousin Rosalie, who's very pregnant, pregnant with a BBL. God help us. But we meet his cousin Rosalie, and she's in an interfaith relationship and pregnant. Rosalie explains that it was extremely uncomfortable for her to go over to Eli's mother's house, who is her aunt. Her mother is Eli's mom's sister. Now, she says it was uncomfortable because there were too many rules and her aunt is extra. And honestly, Eli's mom is rude. She's disrespectful. She has no regard for anyone else. She's incredibly judgmental, and she has no empathy for Lori or anybody, it seems, outside of Jewish religion. I'm sorry. That's how she seems. And I grew up with a lot of Jewish people. They're not all the way that they are portrayed on this show. I can say that about Jewish people, Catholic people, Islamic people. I feel like, of course, it's a show, so they're heightening the extraness of these people and their foundations of their religion. But in real time, they're not all like that. I don't want people to like feel a certain way about religion based on what they see on this show. I just feel like that's very important to acknowledge, because you can't judge all of these people based of a whole religion based on these like small amounts of people. But they get to talking about the relationship. Rosalie's perspective was interesting. She is going to be raising her child in interfaith. So Rosalie grew up Jewish, even though her family don't like to acknowledge her as fully Jewish. And her husband, and also father of her future child that's baking in her belly with the BBL, he is Muslim. He's very Muslim. They said they're going to raise their child with both faiths, and whatever the child chooses to believe is what they believe, which is brilliant, because essentially your child can choose to be what they want to be in religion whenever they so choose to change it, you know? So Lori's mom brings up the fact that she does not agree with everything that comes with the conversion, such as the fact that a woman, when she has her menstrual cycle, has to go and take a bath and is considered impure, has to separate from her husband. That's so disrespectful. You were created in part because of the menstrual cycle, so you have to separate from her while she's on it. Sound like Jewish people need to grow the hell up and take a sex ed class, in my opinion, with that. That is rude to women as a whole. But then we see his cousin step in, and his cousin says, if you really love someone, then love them for who they are and do not force them to convert. I agreed with his cousin. It's coming from a Jewish woman herself. So I definitely agreed with the cousin. You should never convert for someone else. It should be because you want to, and you find that faith to bring you some sort of peace or healing, comfort, all of those good things. Now, Eli then says that raising a kid with two different religions is confusing for a child. Eli, didn't you meet this girl in AA? Why were you even drinking if you Orthodox Jew? So you slipped from your religion too. Humans are flawed and not perfect, and it does not mean that you cannot come back to being perfect. Separate from that, Eli, what kids you got to have experience on raising kids? What educational background do you have relating to children or the psychology of the mind of a child? Are you Erickson? Are you Piaget? Did you create a Freudian theory? He has no education, merit, or mindset to even speak on it. And it's incredibly offensive to say to your cousin who's pregnant, you're just going to confuse your child. No, young man, you're confusing your wife is what you're doing. Your future wife. If you're going to date me, you got to do this. Everything has been your terms. And then he has no empathy. And then he lets his mom just disrespect her. I don't like the way he moves. He kind of throws fits and is childish. I don't know if maybe him drinking too much impacted his mind, but he kind of has Lori twisted, in my opinion, and his cousin. Now, Lori's family does not trust Eli. And she says if they divorced, essentially she would still be Jewish and would have to be buried in a different cemetery from her family. And her family's Catholic, and apparently her father, her grandparents, they're all buried in the same cemetery. To me, it's very strange to even be discussing, like, where am I going to be buried? Like, just focus on living. Me personally, I always tell my loved ones, put me in that little fire thing, burn me up and spread my ashes everywhere, or like give it to someone you don't like just to like haunt them or something. Like, but I'm very dark. So, I know not everyone is like that, but it's just a lot. Um, Eli is entirely ignoring Lori's beliefs. He has not even attempted to respect her beliefs. I don't like Christmas. I don't want to do Christmas. It's not always about Christmas. Most people celebrate Christmas because it's a time to be with family. Christians, Catholics, let's keep it real. We don't know when Jesus was really born. Nobody was there. There's no birth certificate on file for Jesus Christ. Let's keep it real. But we have an idea that he could have been born around that time. So for me, Christmas is just like a time to be with family. I don't even trip or buy gifts. I just like to be around my loved ones and eat. But he's doing too much, and he was incredibly disrespectful. Now, he's pissed off at Rosalie's opinions, but her opinions are truthful. And I think that's why he gets mad, because it triggers him to realize, like, oh, they're making sense. That means I'm not. Now I'm going to have to go and piss off my mom, because he's a mama's boy to some extent. I can see that. Now, he says that the last thing that they need is for doubts that Lori wants to convert. And it's almost like he thinks that she doesn't have her own mind. You don't want doubts that she can convert, but you want to be able to put the seed in her brain that she should convert. There's a double standard. Again, same thing like Ashley and Muhammad. These men are something else, and they're not even perfect. Not even following his religion thoroughly. He got all them tattoos. You're not supposed to have that as an Orthodox Jew. So give her some type of a break. At the end of the day, what goes on in Lori and Eli's household, nobody has to know. Your mama don't know. Your daddy don't know. Nobody has to know. I feel like Lori should put her foot down off camera or something to like make it very clear. Like, listen, I'll convert for you. I'll be willing to do this and that for you. However, when I'm at home in the comfort of my home, I'm not going to be made to be uncomfortable. I feel like that's fair. If I'm at home or, going to the gym, I'm not wearing a wig. I'm not. But if we go to an event with your family, I will happily put on the wig. If we go to temple, I will happily put on the wig. But why does she have to wear all these extra things and do all this extra stuff? I don't like it. I feel like Eli and Lori have a shot if he relaxes a little bit and mans up and leads his own household and respects his woman. That's all. Because religion does not say you disrespect your wife. It says that your wife should come first. And if she is expressing concern and if something is important to her, and she is impacted while changing her whole life for you, sir, then respect her feelings and try to help her through that, instead of throwing a fit in front of her mom and your cousin like a little bitch baby. That's my opinion. Moving on, the last couple we're going to discuss is Chris and Linza. She's mad that his daddy blessed her. His daddy is crazy as hell and the most judgmental, worst example of a Pentecostal Christian that they could have chosen. She talks to Chris about what the dad did, coming over to bless her with the oil, olive oil. That's the one thing I don't like. I was pissed off when I learned. I asked my pastor years ago when I came to Christianity, what's holy water? What makes it holy? Oh, we prayed over it. So it's just tap water. That's it. It's just tap water that we have said, let's pray over. You could have prayed over anything. I could pray over a shot of whiskey, and that makes it a holy shot. And then I can have more of them. Like, that part irritates me, but that's a whole nother thing. Apologies if anyone feels offended, but the holy water thing is crazy to me. It always has been. Now, she feels betrayed by her religion through being anointed. Islam, when you do stuff like that, they don't believe in rituals. They believe it means like you're evil or practicing like witch-like things. Chris does agree that his father overstepped, but then still defended his actions. Just say, yeah, my dad overstepped. I'm sorry that happened. That's it. Don't defend his actions further. Grow up. You're a grown man. Just saying. Now, she says she doesn't want to feel the stress anymore about religion. And it's interesting. Why do you expect, Linsa, for Chris to change his religions when he is already moving to a whole different state to be with you? Your parents don't even know you're with this man. You don't know if they will accept him. He's not Muslim. And now you're saying that Chris has to change religions for you to be together. Baby girl, why didn't you find a man in the mosque, Jid? Why didn't you find a Muslim man if that was so important to you? Stop it. She wants him to convert to her religion and acts all strict with her religion. Well, realistically, she should have on a hijab and the abaya and all of that since she's dating him. And she's not doing that. Also, you got a kid by another fool. You've been divorced twice. You're not the best practicing Muslim, Lensa. So you're being a hypocrite and you're expecting him to do everything that you want him to do, but you're not even willing to give him an inch of anything. She's rude. She's very selfish. And I feel like she has pretty girl syndrome where she's used to getting her way. And I feel like this may be a part of why her marriages did not work. Just saying. And as much as she's judging him for being a PK, she was put into an arranged marriage because of Islam and her religion and how her family and her country believes. So it's like, you ain't even chose your own man, and now you finally get to choose one and you're trying to change him. You liked him for who he is, so allow him to be who he is. I don't understand that. But she thinks she went out of her way to be respectful of Chris's family and their religion. Baby girl, you have not been respectful at all. You have called his parents crazy, walked away from the dinner table, referred to Christianity as witchcraft. You left church in the middle of church while he was preaching, and all you do is bitch and moan and complain. How have you been respectful of his religion? When that man watches back the commentary that you made of his family, it's one thing to be like, I don't believe this, I feel pressured. It's another thing to be making jokes about the religion, which she did. She's incredibly rude. And if he was to do the same thing to her with Islam, she would throw a fit. I want Chris and Lindsay to not be together, or I want for her to at least tell her parents about him and be like, but he's going to convert before he moves out there. And I don't know what's wrong with him to move from Ohio to Michigan for this chick. There's nothing in Grand Rapids. I'm sorry to people who are there. You're very nice. I know some people out there, but there's nothing there. Like Michigan for job wise is pretty dead unless you are in some form of management, have a degree in business. And even then there's not much out there. So I don't know. They annoyed me. I don't really think any of these couples will make it. If I'm keeping it real, I think the only couple oddly that may have a shot is Lindsay and Elmer. And that's just because she's so focused on being old and her biological clock. But Muhammad and Ashley, I don't think they're going to make it. Eli and Lori, I don't know. She's doing a lot for him, but I don't think he appreciates it. So even if they do make it, I feel like they'll just divorce years down the line. I don't know. I just don't feel like half of these people are going to make it, but it makes for good TV. Hell, so I am totally okay with that. I'm totally okay with that. Anywho, I appreciate everybody who tuned in, whether you're watching this now or whether you are a part of our replay gang watching later. It means the world to me. I'm just on YouTube talking about shows because it's fun to do. Again, we are streaming live from Waikiki, Honolulu in Hawaii. So if there were any issues with quality visuals, normally you should be able to see me in 1080p. But if you're not able to, I apologize. I am streaming from hotel Wi-Fi, but we will be back next week as always with my normal equipment, Wi-Fi, all of those things. So it should be better. But thus far, this hotel Wi-Fi has done good. I will have another recap later tonight. It will be 6 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time, 9 p.m. California time, Pacific Standard Time. I'll be going live with James from Watch Your Mouth Reviews to discuss Basketball Wives, LA, the hot mess express that was, just chugging along. But I do appreciate and love all of you for tuning in. I hope that you all have a blessed day, and I will see you next week in Thug Life.